My husband and I have a joke about virtually every new place we go to. I hope it isn't haunted. And we laugh it off. Well, it seems that our jokes have caught up to us. We are no strangers to strange, unexplained paranormal style activity. One of our favorite date nights is exploring creepy places in New England and beyond. My husband grew up in a haunted house, and I saw my first ghost at 10 years old. But I digress. It was a warm September when we moved into the Benjamin F. house. We were moving from one town over, and we had driven by this house many times. It often sat empty, with its bay windows rippling in the dappled sunshine, or cringing in winter's stark glare. It always had a certain something I can't quite describe. Perhaps a spectral defense against the outside world. We were moving from a less than ideal situation, and honestly, probably would have taken it no matter what had happened in the house, barring perhaps a grisly axe murder. The house was built in 1831 by Benjamin F. Jr., who appears to have been a man in good standing in the town. He owned a shoe store and was the postmaster for the town in 1843. He had a few kids with his wife Phoebe, and their names appear frequently in historical records. They had a daughter who married a man who would become a Civil War lieutenant and a recipient of the Medal of Honor. Interestingly, the daughter and husband did not retire in the area, but instead, as far north as one can go in Vermont. Derby, a town on the Canadian border. The house has since gone through many renovations, and the removal of porches and windows and new paint. But you can still see the exposed beams in the living room and hardwoods peeping out in one of the closets. The floor under the carpets dips and dives and squeals, just like the surrounding green mountains. And we suspect the old cellar hatch is in the front hallway. We were thrilled to move in for so many reasons, and were excited to later learn that the house was so historic that there existed a photo of it from the 1880s at the Historical Society. I started moving stuff over on a day my husband was at work. We were executing the grim and sweaty job of ferrying our belongings from a minivan and into the house with narrow hallways and awkwardly shaped rooms. I dutifully ignored what felt like the very walls of the place eyeballing us, though the kids were oblivious in their excitement. Within moments of getting that final load in the house and collapsing on the bed to ease my aching back, I realized that the place was, in fact, haunted. The roomy upstairs bathroom was directly across the hallway landing from our bedroom. It had slanted ceilings and a deep closet. The window was open, the late summer breeze wafting through. I heard a slight creak and looked over to see the bathroom door, which hadn't moved 1 inch all day, slowly drift to a close. My heart leapt slightly. There it is, I thought, in the interest of making sure there was no other explanation. I investigated all the doors and windows, testing different combinations of them, open and shut, and found no inconsistencies or smoking guns. In the 2 years we've lived here, I've come to accept that the door does what it wants. Sometimes it will stay open for days and weeks, only to suddenly drift over with no logical rhyme or reason. On one of the windiest days we've had this year, the bathroom window was cracked for airflow, and the door hadn't budged. Quite recently, I was shutting the door on my way into the bathroom and felt something push the door closed harder than I was, as if I wasn't moving fast enough. That certainly gave me room for pause and gave me the heebie-jeebies. In those early months, we immediately found the bathroom to be particularly active. I've gotten up to pee in the middle of the night, more than one time, to find the window blind in the bathroom, previously down, now suddenly up. We felt cold spots in there, and a general creepiness that we can't quite describe otherwise. My daughter and myself both have a feeling of being rushed while sitting on the toilet. Here and there, I'll see what I think is a shadow of a person coming up the stairs, right outside the bathroom door. One time when a family member came to visit, the bathroom door seemed to have a fit, shutting on its own repeatedly for the entire time they were visiting. Once they left, the door was back to normal. The kitchen has also been the location of activity, with what seems to be a particular focus on me. We've set the crock pot only to come back to it hours later and find it on a different setting, or off altogether. I had an experience with kitchen blinds recently. It swung out somewhat violently while I was doing the dishes. We have a wind chime hanging above the kitchen sink, and it has chimed at me more than once, when no breeze or human action could have disturbed it. Sometimes when I am cooking or cleaning, listening to something on my phone, it will randomly pause for no reason that I can see. It seems to only happen when I am not listening on my earbuds. The freezer door closes on no one else except for me, which I find infuriating. I've gotten to the point, literally scream at them. One curious phenomenon in this house is the overwhelming amount of glass breakage we have experienced since moving in. It's not necessarily breaking on its own, although there was that one time the coffee pot carafe exploded as it sat innocently on the coffee maker's warming plate, completely off and cool. There's more of multiple and unusual occurrences of things made of glass breaking. The one time the bottom of a bag holding mason jars fell out, and they broke all over the entryway carpet. Or the many times glasses of water have been knocked over. Or the glass in a picture frame broke in a freak accident. Or the time the vase full of pebbles fell from the deep bathroom windowsill with no provocation. It could just be us, floundering in this weird environment. Or it could be because this house is haunted as fuck. My husband and I have both felt like we've been pushed, one time each. For him, he was organizing the kids' closet, and me while I was walking down the stairs on my way out the door to work. Needless to say, we were not amused. I am always willing to admit that I may be wrong, or I might have made something out of nothing, or whatever other reason besides, it was a ghostly entity. But this house is truly off its rocker. One night, in the very early months, just as winter was embracing us in her icy folds, I was waiting for my husband to come home from work. I was probably watching something creepy in bed, like Man's Search for Sasquatch, or Creepiest Haunted Houses in America, or some such, when I heard the closet door click. It seemed as if someone had turned the handle all the way, so that the latch bolt went all the way inside the door, and then released the handle so that it would pop back out quickly and make a single click sound. Be cool, I told myself, as I let my eyes move slowly to the door handle. The whole room still and quiet. I felt almost like I was being taunted. Went the text to my husband. The closet door handle just moved on its own. I waited for something else to happen, but that night continued without incident. My husband recently reported to me that he heard our noisy bedroom floorboard creak during the night. Looking up expecting one of the kids to be there, he looked around. Not a child appeared. Everyone was snug in their beds. Similarly, the bathroom light had come on all its own during the night, flooding our bedroom with its bright light. It was late into our first winter here when a medium came to our house. She was a friend who posted her services for free. So I jumped. We were curious and hoping we weren't crazy. What did we have to lose? I told her we were having activity, but wasn't specific. I didn't tell her anything specific about the rooms. She arrived on a dark evening when the days are way too short and our resident cold spots had nothing on the drafts of Vermont winter. She walked through the house alone for a while before she finally rejoined me in the living room. She took a breath and proceeded to try to find the words to describe how much she felt in my bathroom. I had never felt so vindicated as I did in that moment. I nodded heartily, excited and relieved at the same time. I certainly felt less crazy. She went on to tell me about the female energy she felt in the bathroom and in the kitchen. An older woman. She liked the chair in the bedroom, but hated my cooking. I snorted and told the ghost out loud to shove it. Maybe that could explain the harassment in the kitchen. My friend said that the ghost thought my retort was funny, and we all seemed to share a laugh. Long story short, she reported that she felt nothing in the kids' rooms, and everything else was predominantly centered around the stairwell and upper bathroom and landing. She said she felt a great deal of shame energy from the woman upstairs. I explained how I felt a very strong urge to bake and homeschool and be quite domestic since moving in. My friend said she could feel that too. In the end, she said she would try to communicate with the woman and let her know all was well to move on. I will say that I did notice the heavy creepiness of the bathroom decrease drastically after my friend's visit. I still occasionally expect a jump scare every time I close the bathroom mirror. We still have the random weirdness, like the kitchen blind moving suddenly without provocation, or something going missing only to be found later. The bathroom door continues to have an attitude. At this point, nothing surprises me, and dare I say that we aren't afraid anymore. It's just simply how it is. Our house is haunted. At no point have I felt that my kids were in danger. They have had virtually no experience or ghostly encounters, short of the toilet thing with our daughter, and they generally sleep soundly through the night. Our older son has a few things go on, which I think can be attributed to the cat grabbing his foot, though he swears the cat didn't do it. We work towards maintaining a balance of open-mindedness and frank, intelligent discussion without resorting to paranoia or hyped-up fear. Questioning the world around us and considering all facets, while trying to grasp the concepts of good and evil. A balance it is, truly. The funny thing about real haunted houses is that they aren't Hollywood. They are small things that happen over a time that you may very well have missed if you weren't open or paying attention, or maybe just as into it as my husband and myself are. Real hauntings are pockets of life's experiences. The energy of a wife shamed for being a woman, perhaps, or expected to cook well for her family, and passing those judgments on. Maybe an abuse that was so heavy that it stuck in this house. Just like trauma gets lodged in our own bodies. I still have times when my heart races for a moment, or goosebumps tickle my skin. And for a second, I get startled or scared. Then I take a breath, shake it off, and remind myself that all is well. And then I tell those ghosts, "Not today."